Okay, on number 24, you're asked to graph the system. All right, and then you have to give two order pairs that are solutions and two order pairs that are not solutions. Well, the way I started out was I hit the y-intercept and I did the slope. And that's this line right here. Notice it's dashed. And then the other one is solid. So it starts out here at -1. And of course, I had to go up 4 and to the right 1 to get this line. And as far as shading is concerned, remember you look at the y-intercepts of both and you do what is being asked. Like for instance, this says less than, so it's y that is less than 2. Well, that means I would shade down. That means everything to this side. Here, that'd be everything to this side. Now, when you do that, you don't really have to shade the whole thing. You wait till you see what the other side needs to be shaded. Like for instance, this is y is greater than -1. So -1 is right here, so up. Whereas this one was down. And notice they both meet in this section here. So that's the double shaded region. And that's the area where all the solutions would be. Now remember, it's all of this. Okay? So if you pick a point that's in the solution area, then you pick, I always pick the easiest ones. Like I pick 0, 0, and then I put -1, 0. I pick the obvious ones. And then for the not a solutions, 2, 0, and of course 2, 2. Now, number 25, the only change, you're looking for the transformation. The only change is in the y-intercept, and it went from +2 down to -1, and so that means it shifted down 3 units. So it's a vertical shift, or translation, 3 units down. On number 25, you basically had it gave you an equation, and there's two ways you could actually solve it. One is to plug in the 0 to find the x and y-intercept. The other way is to solve for y and just graph it. I use the zeros, or I use the intercepts, and then what I did was, if you noticed, I plugged in 0 for y, and then I solved for x. Okay? Then I plugged in 0 for x, and then I solved for y. And for x was 20, so the coordinate point was 20, 0, 20, 0, and then the y-intercept was at 0, 30. And then what I did was I just sketched a graph, and I plotted those 2 points. All right? So here is 30 skirts, and here is 20 jackets. Connect them. And that means when I order 0 jackets, I can make 30 skirts. And when I have 0 skirts, I can make 20 jackets. And that's all from 1 bolt of fabric. On number 27, it gives you a table. You had to find the rate of change. Well, you notice here's your y's. I'm sorry, that's your x's, and here's your y's. And remember, it's rise over run. So change in y over change in x. Your y's happen to be here on the bottom. So they're all a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's y equals 1x. Now the next thing we had to find was the y-intercept. And we do this by going backwards. So notice I wrote all numbers that they gave me. So when you go backwards, when x is 0, and you go backwards this way, your y-intercept will be 5. So since your slope is x, bring that back down here, and you get y is equal to x plus 5. On number 28, basically the water level is at 34, and it's receding at 5 feet per second, or 5 feet per day, so, or half a foot per day, sorry, so 0.5, and that's the same as 1/2. Now, if you notice, I create, the W represents the water level. So we want to know when the water level is 26. So I replace W with 26. I bring down the equation, and instead of -0.5, I wrote -1/2. So I subtracted 34 on both sides. I got -8. -1/2 times D. So what I did was I multiplied by the reciprocal, which is -2, on both sides. And -2 times -8 is positive 16. So it took 16 days for the water level to get to 26 feet. Number 29. Now this is talking about a ratio of oil to gallons of gas, and the ratio is 9 to 15. but then it says, hey, how much oil will you use if you have 60 gallons? Well, you could do one of two ways. You can see that 15 will go into 60 if you multiply it by 4. So if you multiply 9 by 4, you get 36. That's one method. The other method is to cross multiply. So 15 times x is 15x. 9 times 60 is 540. You divide both sides by 15, and x equals 36. On number 30, it is not a function because it doesn't pass the vertical line test. So if you were to pick an x value, like here at 2, 2 would have two y values, so each x would have more than one y value. Now, it also asks you to do the domain and range. Well, if you notice, this is what I did. Domain. Your domain is from your furthest left to the furthest right. So it's from -3 to +1, and this is how you label your domain. All your x's that are between -3 and 1 and are included because there's no open circles. Then your range are your y values. So again, it's your lowest and your highest. So your lowest happens to be -2, your highest has to be +2. Therefore, your range is your y values between -2 and +2, and again, it's solid as well. So greater than or equal to -2, or y is less than or equal to 2. All right, number 31. You basically had to solve for y. So I've noticed a lot of kids are combining these and making like -14x. You can't do that. So make sure you just write them next to each other, and then you just solve for y by dividing everything by 2, and you get y is greater than -4x minus 3. It's a dashed line, so we start here at the y-intercept. We go 1, 2, 3, up 4, right 1, up 4, right 1, or sorry, up 4, left 1, up 4, left 1, and then it's dashed. And then, in order to shade it properly, notice the equation says y is greater than -3, so greater than, we would go up, so it's this side of the graph. Alright? Number 32. Basically, you just multiply both sides by 4 to get rid of the denominator, and x is greater than 8, so you put an 8 on the number line, it's an open circle, and it's to the right. And then finally, number 33 and 34. On number 33, you had to give me the domain. Now, notice it's out of order, so you start with -10, 0, 2, and 7. The range is also out of order, so it's -19, 0, 15, and 5, then 15. And again, it's in order, and you put it in these nice little brackets. Number 34, I used my x and y intercepts. I plugged in 0 for y and found x. So that's -5, 0. Then I plugged in 0 for x and found y. And so at 0, -2, you connect them, and there's your graph.